Hello folks, today we're going to take a look at a Zeiss Axiovert 100 series inverted fluorescence microscope. Now we're only going to look at how to set up fluorescence. We're not going to be talking about the transmitted illumination, anything to do with that such as DIC, phase contrast, color illumination. All of this is transmitted light, so just disregard all transmitted light for this video. Now, let's look at specifically our illuminator. First of all, I want to say that this microscope model had originally a much older illuminator than this. This is a newer model HBO lamp housing with power supply. I like this a lot better. The older one I really didn't like. It had a lot of light leakage and it was harder to center and just frustrating. So I don't sell those, I don't service them, I don't get into them. I start with this model. There's actually a later model than this. It's a color black one, and that's a good one too, very good. But this is all good. Now, I'm not going to discuss how to insert the bulb, how to do the centering, collector lens, how all this works in this video. And the reason why is I've got a lot of videos. I'm only going to concentrate on how to do fluorescence on an Axiovert 100 series. How to set up this illuminator, that's going to be typical and common for all of those microscopes. So there's another video just for this portion. So let's begin. Let me take this stage off because I want you to see more of the vertical illumination light path and what's happening here. Now, I made it easy because I only got one screw sitting here, all in preparation for doing this video. Normally there's 3 screws on this stage. Okay, getting right to it, there's a lever right here. This is the iris. This is the iris diaphragm. You can open and close it this way, and you center it with these 2 knobs, these knurled knobs. And you'll see a knurled knob on the other side as well, right here. 2 of them sticking up. These are notorious. Both the centering part and the iris lever are notorious for freezing up. When the grease, as it gets really old, you can't move this iris. No matter how much you force it, you'll just break something if you try. Even centering these knobs, it won't move. So we take these apart and we re-grease them. We make sure everything's right. These have to be centered. So I'm going to call this the field iris diaphragm, and it needs to be centered in the field of view. So like if this is your field of view, maybe you're only imaging way out here. Well, it may be these are all messed up. It can also be your collector lens over here. But for the most part, if you're looking in here, especially if you're looking in your eyepieces, and what you're seeing in your eyepiece is way off to a side here, and everything else is cut off, it's probably you're messed up here. Hopefully you can just rotate this and center it. If it's old, it may be frozen. Okay, this is a slot for any drop-in filters. Normally those are not used. All right, let's take a look at what this is. This is a shutter slider. Okay, it's got 3 positions. One position is open. I'm putting my finger through it just to show you there's nothing in there. If you push it all this direction, 100% of the light that's coming in is entering in to your dichroic filters. If you push it in the middle position, and let's take a look at what that middle position is. You can barely see it here. It's got a slightly shaded filter. That is a BG38 IR cutoff filter. It's also attenuating your deep reds. So what that's doing is all of the excess heat that's coming in as a NIR and above, it's cutting that out. So that's good to protect your specimen and protect your optics, everything. You don't need that excess heat unless you happen to be doing NIR imaging. Now the other, if you pushed it all the way this way like it is sitting right now, and you'll see over here, that is 100% blocking, 100% blocking all light that goes here. I'll pull it out so you can see. So that there is no opening right here. That's just a flat piece of metal right there, blocking everything. So if you're looking at the microscope and you're like, hey, I can't see anything, yeah, maybe you've got the blocker in here. And while we've got it turned to this position, this is a rotary turret, and it's set right now to 1x. Now, some of these have different positions. Sometimes they'll have a 1.6. That's usually pretty rare. It was an option for some of these. And if it's on that, you don't want to start out your fluorescence on a 1.6. You want to start it out on a 1. That's an Optivar magnification changer is what that would be. We don't have one on this particular model. Now there's another setting on here that is for a Bertrand lens, and it has a little adjustment right here, and this is where you can adjust the Bertrand lens so that you can do your phase contrast centering. But if somebody were playing with a microscope and they had it on this setting, you're not going to see fluorescence. You're going to be frustrated why you can't see fluorescence. So there you go. Make sure you are on 1x. And by the way, that's one of the great frustrations with fluorescence is everything has to be just right. If you got one thing wrong, you don't see an image, or you see a terrible image, or at the best, you're seeing an image that's not good enough. So many things have to be done just right. Now, let's take a look at our tray. This is our tray slider. Okay, in this case, we have filters, so the light is coming through and going into our filters. You can do these trays different ways. Usually what I do is I typically leave the middle one open. So I typically put a blocker for the middle so it blocks the fluorescence light this way. And the other one might be like a DAPI, which would be a UV, maybe a GFP FITSI over here, maybe a 480 nanometer or so. And then I might have a second tray, and the second tray might have something like an FITC and maybe a Texas Red M Cherry. So I might have a 546 nanometer green excitation, red or pumpkin orange in the eyepiece, and this other one would also be a green excitation, but maybe it would be giving me a really deep, beautiful red. So that's how I would typically do those. You can have some of these trays where they have more than 3 on them, but in any case, you generally want to leave one of these open, or maybe you've got 2 trays and you want 3 filters on one tray, and the other tray is what you use for when you're doing your transmitted illumination. Okay, so let's just put that back in. And by the way, this tray slider has a blocker. So if I can push this down with my finger, see, it won't go all the way out. So you got to push this up like that to take the tray all the way out. All right, well that's basically the internal light path for the fluorescence. Make sure your head, if you want to get fluorescence like everything else, you have to make sure that you've got light going into the eyepieces. If there happens to be any splitter, this one does not have any splitter. You always want 100% of your light starting out in your eyepieces, no matter what microscope you're on. All right, that is an overview of the functionality of the settings on the Zeiss Axiovert 100 inverted fluorescence microscope. Okay, this is the second part of the instructional video about how to set up fluorescence on the Zeiss Axiovert 100 series. We have an image on the screen, so we have the HBO 100 power supply turned on, igniting the bulb in the HBO 100 lamp housing in the rear. We have the fluorescence light path opened up, and we've got about a 546 nanometer Tritzy cube, filter cube inside our tray, filter set inside our tray. Okay, at this point we're doing fluorescence, and I can also change this to other, this is a GFP, here's a DAPI, let's go back to the red. Let me show you the iris. It's really hard to get to back here, but we went over that earlier. So if I turn this field iris diaphragm down, now you can see how it looks. And you can't see how to center it when you're looking at the screen, but when you're looking at the eyepieces, all you got to do is just make this centered, make the iris centered in your field of view. Okay, and those are the centering knobs. We went over that earlier. I'm gonna open that up a little more. Let's see, that closes it down and that opens it up. Okay, this is our shutter. So I can block all of the light just by pulling the shutter out this direction. Pushing it midway is an IR filter. Pushing it all the way gives me 100% of the light to come through. All right, let's just move around on the slide a little bit. Do some focusing on it. And on this particular head, this shutter can block, actually it does block light, ambient light from coming in. I've got it pulled all the way out. I put a little piece of tape here just to remind myself that if it's pushed in, it blocks the light. That can be confusing at times. And to go to the camera port, I've pushed this all the way in. So that comprises the final part of the instructional video. I hope this video helps you out, and I want to thank you very much for watching.